Pathfinder. Even in the Philippines, not all churches there are being involved so much in Pathfinder training. And I'm so happy that Morton Grove have dedicated so much resources for having you here. And shall we give them a Pathfinder clap? Do you know the Pathfinder clap?
Pathfinders, ready, clap.
Thank you for that. Thank you, parents. And I'm so happy also to see some of my colleagues wearing those yellow neckerchief with rainbow stripes. So I just haven't brought my neckerchief so that I could join you. But anyway, the very theme of our Pathfinder survival camp this very week is entitled Christ our shelter in the wilderness. When we are talking about the wilderness, what do you usually think about?
Danger. Danger or darkness.
Danger and darkness, how about you?
Like just lush green stuff everywhere.
Lush greens, stuff everywhere. How about you?
Being outside like a city away from people.
Outside, away from people. Same. How about you? Yeah?
Peacefulness away from other chaos.
Peace away from other chaos. Well, all of you are right. When I tried to ask Google, and he said, wilderness is somewhat a place or an area untouched by humans, undisturbed, not so much disturbed by humans. It may have some people, but it is not disturbed. Maybe no great structures are being implemented there or being executed in that place that we call a wilderness. When we talk the desert, because the Israelites have traveled a long time for 40 years in the wilderness before they reach Canaan. So wilderness is somewhat a desert area, but a wilderness is also somewhat of a forest, a place where nobody, or it's not so much disturbed by humans. And this might be called a little of this wilderness, but if you go to the forested area, where there are a lot of tall trees there, let's say, that could be called a wilderness. We have also experienced the wilderness. When we were still younger, my wife and I were fond of this mountain trekking. Well, in fact, we have almost completed the top 10 highest peaks in the Philippines. We usually climb, and one climb that we cannot forget is the one that we did in Mount Apo. Have you gone to Mount Apo? Have you heard about Mount Apo? Have you heard about? No. So some of you don't know Mount Apo. Mount Apo is the highest peak in the Philippines. So it's found in Davao, or the Davao region, somewhat like Cotabato area. It's so high, but no problem with the height. The design that we should do that time is that during the first day of the trek, from the jump off, we should have camp in the in-between part, the campsite, the goody-goody campsite. Then from goody-goody campsite, we'll go straight to the peak. And as we journeyed, it was a beautiful morning, trekking towards the place, and eventually it rained so hard. We did not anticipate it. What happened? When we reached Goody Goody, it's somewhat like it, similar to this one. It was so floody, a strong current of water passing the campsite, and we said, the lead pack said, we should go straight ahead to the peak. And it was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon that time. We should have camped there. said, let's go straight to the peak. And we go straight to the peak, so wet and so cold. And during that time, when we reach almost in the boulders, where there is a little, somewhat, a very, more of a cliff, similar to the cliff, somewhat like that. If you have gone there, I believe some of you might have reached that place. It's already dark. It's about 6 o'clock. And I said to my wife, let's remove our headlamps. And by the time we assembled the batteries and we turned it on, and it did not lit up. Also hers. And we said, okay, we don't have headlamps. We should follow who have the headlamps. My wife then have a history of Operation LASIK, which is somewhat sensitive to smoke. In there is great volume of sulfur smoke during that time. So, medyo reddish na kanyang mata. So I said, go, find somebody ahead of me. I'll get your backpack. Go ahead and sumunod ka lang sa may ilaw. I'm bringing her backpack. And of course, you know man, backpackers, we are bringing some quite expensive bags during that time. And we should have brought it like that. Everywhere I go, I followed somebody also with a headlamp. And by the time it was so cold and we're so tired and we're so hungry, instead of protecting that backpack, I'm just dragging it like that. Scratching, bahala na. And eventually, we reached. Every step was so hard. Every step was so difficult. No light. You're on the cliff. In fact, somebody ahead of me, because I have no headlamp, when we climbed on that part, I almost touched, I touched a leg. Sabi ko, Genesis, ba't andyan ka? Ba't upo ka lang dyan? Andito tayo sa cliff. Sabi niya, Sir, pagod na ako, matutulog lang ako dito, saglit, on the cliff. During that time. But every now and then, every step of the way was very hard. And we reached the peak, so wet, so cold, so hungry. We fetched our tent, and we settled for a night. And the next day, we talked about what happened last night. And somebody said, it's so hard for us. It's somewhat like this. I don't know where my wife was during that time. She was ahead of me. I don't know if she reached the peak or she was lost along the way. It was so dark. I was also taking care of myself only during that time. And our sweeper, when you are in a mountain trek, there is a lead pack, a middleman, and a sweeper. Our sweeper said to me, wala man lang nakakarinig sa inyo sa akin? I am asking for food. And gladly he found in his jacket an old happy peanut. That's the only one that he has opened already. Maybe he have placed it way before, climbs before, and he just opened it and he ate the nut. And it was so bad, but he was so hungry, he just ate it. What I'm trying to emphasize here is during that time, during that trek, we are experiencing different experiences. We are on our own, we have to survive on our own, and we have our individual wilderness experience. Nobody could help you during that time. Therefore, each of us, as we journey along in this world, we will be experiencing wilderness experience. To the adult people, we have different wilderness experience. We will be thinking, if I'm fired from work, what will I do? If I have a problem in my family down there in the Philippines or here in Illinois, what should I do? We have a lot of wilderness experience. We have a lot of loneliness. even to you as young people. And one of the wilderness that you're encountering every now and then is that the pressures that you have coming from schools, right? Do you have pressures or not at all? Have you experienced pressures in school? Are there expectations from you? You need to overcome those expectations. Of course, requirements here and there from different teachers. I don't know how the schools or academics are being performed here in Illinois, but I believe we have to overcome, we have to pass those things. But aside from that one, there are a lot of pressures coming from peers, right? You know it's wrong, but your peer said so. You just have to do it. Some of your friends might get involved into drinking. Some of your friends might get involved into smoking. Some of your friends might say, okay, go to this place even if it's Sabbath day. And you have to, okay, I might think of this, and you'll be pondering somewhat like that. Those are the wilderness experience that you need to decide on. How will you compose yourself? How will you stand in that situation? There are a lot of things going on, especially when you're youth. Pressures are everywhere. Wilderness experience is not an easy experience. Just like what happened to us, you are going to overcome it alone. And youth, even though with the advancement of the social media, the wilderness experience will not be healed with that one. There are a lot of pressures. Wilderness happen to each and every one of us when we are asking for help and nobody seems to be there. Have you experienced that one? You need some help, but your parents are not available. You need some help, but your friends are not available. Usually, we resort to social media, watching TV, somewhat doing things that we thought we find a shelter, but it's not the real solution. Social media, somewhat like that, or playing games. It's somewhat, there are times in our lives that having those wilderness experience, we resort to different things that could have somewhat alleviate those things to keep us away from loneliness. Maybe this is the solution. Maybe this is the right thing to do. And eventually, you find it out, it's not the wrong time. It's not the wrong thing. Like gamings. Gamings is one of the most used things. When we are lonely and we are doing nothing, we want to play games. It's because we thought we would be happy doing it. But eventually, you will not notice that you are gradually and strongly being trapped by Satan. Well, just remember, young Pathfinders, our gadget is just a tool. We have to realize that gadget is just our tool. Our cell phone is just a tool. If you want a dictionary, you can find it there. If you want a direction, you can use it. But never let your cell phones dictate what you are to behave. Am I clear, Pathfinders? They are just gadgets. They are just a tool. They are just an equipment. Never let them dictate who you are. Yes, it's because if you got, and I believe we know that getting too much into gamings is not the right thing. Do you agree? Do you agree? That's why parents sometimes intervene. Oh, that's too much, or you have this time only, or you have to do this one first before you do this, and eventually you sleep. Don't get mad at your parents. They are really just protecting each and every one of you. They are not your enemies. They are your partners and your friend. So I believe we are on the same page like this. But sometimes the reaction is different, right? You act differently. When your father or your mom said, okay, do this, and then you sleep. And said, I'm not yet done with my games, especially if I have a friend joining with you during the games. No? I've sometimes noticed that one with my children. Yeah? And I believe it is also what you're experiencing also, right? You don't like to stop, especially when your friends are already in that game. But remember, if somebody will not intervene and stop you from doing such, you will eventually be trapped by Satan. You will eventually be trapped by Satan. That's why sometimes also we get trapped by the social media. Even adults, we are trapped by the social media. What had happened there in the Philippines during the Senate hearing, somewhat like that. Or what had happened to different activities to your friends and somewhat like that. What had happened to my idol, to the youth. No? Those are the things we usually think or using the social media. We think of, okay, just give me 30 minutes. And eventually it turned into an hour, 1.5. And we know it's bad. It controls you also. If you are using too much time of that thing, it becomes your God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's God. That is what God is telling us. You shall have no other gods before me. But if it takes too much of our time, my time, your time, it has become our God. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry. If we have some struggles, if we have some difficulty on these things, there will be an assurance that God is your strength all the time. It may be difficult at first, especially if you are already trapped on it, if already you have gotten used to it. But I believe God has a way. God has its own way to remind you. Maybe not to your parents. You just have to be open to Him. Might be telling yourself, okay, I will just use my cell phone gradually. 1 hour it becomes 45 minutes or 30 minutes before you sleep. Eventually, you will not get used to it anymore. If in the Philippines, I think 3 years ago or 4 years ago, the top one passer of the teacher's board exam in the Philippines was a gamer. Would you believe that? He is a gamer. I said, wow, I could be a top one soon when I get the board exam. But when he was interviewed in TV, he said, what happened? What did you do when to have a good result in his board exam? What have happened previously? And he said, actually, I was a game addict before. But he was watching one by one his classmates graduating from that school year, and another group of batch in another school year, and another school year, and another school year, and he is still busy with his games. And he just realized, I cannot be forever like this. So he switched his mindset. He left his games, in cell phones and in computers, and he started to focus on studying. And that is history for him. And he got #1 in the board exam. God, it's not him, it's just God telling him, you should stop that. We should stop that. And God also uses our parents to tell you, you should stop that. We must also obey our parents. It might be against our mood. It might be against the trip of our classmates or our friends, but they are most of the time right. They may not be perfect. I cannot be perfect. Your parents can never be perfect, but they are right. Because they know the effect. They know the effect. And they have researched it also. That's the son of their friends, the daughter of their sister, the friend of the son of his classmate, somewhat like this. It's a very tragic thing in the family when one member of their family failed. It's because they are being trapped by Satan through the gadgets. And also ladies, Pathfinder, young women, maybe Satan, or of course soon, you will be growing up, and you will have your boyfriends. Oh, you will have your boyfriend. Not too soon. Somebody wants to be single. It's okay. I will agree to that one. Yeah, that's better. Until 20. After graduation, you can remain single. If ever your boyfriends to be invite you to those things that are not meant for married couple or an unmarried couple, don't be trapped. You might experience they might threat you that, okay, if we will not do this, we will break up. And don't evolve yourself around that guy. Because if that guy invites you to do those things, they are not from God. They are not from God. There are things you need to think of right there. Especially, I always remind myself of what I've heard before by a certain pastor of how to decide or what are the criteria to have a good decision. First, ask yourself, will it make you happy? If it says yes, move up. Will your parents be happy? If it will not make them happy, even though it makes you happy, don't do it. If it makes them happy, ask once again, if I'm happy with this, my parents are happy with this, will God be happy with this? If it says yes, and I believe you know what's the right thing to do because you have been learning schools, lessons in schools. If it says yes, you can go all the way. But if among the three, it is not right with the three criteria, then one of those criteria, then don't do it. Will that be okay with you? It is very important that you have to analyze things out. I remembered when I also joined a debut party in the Philippines. I liked what the father said to her daughter, the debutante. He said to the debutante, don't do temporary things that will have long and long-term bad effect to you. Don't trade short happiness with longer impact, bad impact to you. Am I clear? Don't use this, don't use drugs, don't get involved in this so that you will enjoy this one, but it will have a bad impact in the long run. I believe to be a Pathfinder, you have to be mentally, shall we say, keen. Mentally keen. Not always right, but mentally keen. If I'm doing the right thing, I should do this. One of the shelter that we have to come in contact with, especially if we have problems, if we have doubts, if we are depressed, if we have problems, you pray to God. Your parents have been teaching you to pray to God always. Your parents have been telling you and have been praying so that you will emulate or copy your parents. You do the same. And this time around, now that you hear this, make a personal communication with Jesus. You can ask Him, you can cry to Him, you can ask Him, you can share all your doubts, and you can also shed your disappointments. If you are disappointed with God to what had happened to you with your grades or what had happened to your family, share it to Him. It's fine. He even wants it. If you're disappointed with me, tell me more. Bring it on. Bring it to me. If you have problems with Jesus, bring it to Him. Ask Him more. Shout to Him more. And eventually, He will hear you. Your parents might not be able to hear you, but He will hear you. Your friends might not be able to help you, but God will help you. He is your constant help. He is your strength. If that top-notcher did not dedicate himself, I believe he has an encounter with Jesus. That could not happen if that turn of event, he did not call for Jesus. And I believe if you have some struggles with your gadgets, if you have some struggles with your family, if you have some struggles with your friends, if you're being bullied in your classrooms, with your friends, share it to God, share it to your parents, share it to your church mates, to relieve your anxieties, your problems, to lighten up yourselves. We have a lot of shelters. God has provided a lot of shelters to all of us, to you young people, to you young Pathfinders. So don't get disappointed. Yes, you can be disappointed, but don't lose hope. And I believe Jesus is really a pure shelter whenever there are problems. Whenever you are encountering wilderness, a wilderness experience, God will always be your solution and your refuge. Thank you and happy Sabbath, Pathfinders.
Okay, thank you for the message. And for our closing song, let us all stand and sing our theme song, A Shelter in a Time of Storms. The Lord is our, ready, sing. The Lord's our rock, in Him we hide, a shelter in the time of storm. Secure at every time, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in the weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand, faithful guide for the weary man, the shelter in the time of storm.